Welcome to another episode of Enjoy the Journey podcast. I'm Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor.
My name is Sam Panetta.
And we're here with Jade Green of Life Engineered. G'day, Jane. How you doing?
Hi, I'm very good, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. We've been trying to lock you down for a time for a while, but you're a very busy lady, so I think you made some time.
Yes, no, I've been looking forward to trying to fit you guys in and very excited to be on the show.
Fantastic. So Jade, obviously we've encountered each other in another life when we were both members of the Entourage, and life's had a bit of a change for yourself since then, right?
Yeah, certainly has. I made a big shift from working in a three-piece pinstripe suit on Pitt Street in the city, Sydney, to living on the beautiful Gold Coast and getting to go surfing and have a bit more of a life as well as the work.
Beautiful.
So living the dream.
Yeah, living the dream. Yeah. It sounds like it.
Hence my winter tan, yeah?
Yeah, if only we were that lucky. So talk us through your journey. Obviously, with that change, you've gone from your expertise and area of expertise has been kind of human capital, resourcing, recruitment, right?
Yes.
So talk us through your journey.
Okay, so, wow, where do we start? Probably my human capital experience starts way back when I was 21, really. I fell accidentally into having a modelling and promotional agency, but that's still to do with human capital because it's still about taking a brief around what type of person they needed. Like different brands, even alcohol brands, need a certain type of personality to represent them. So some need a little more serious and witty girl, and the other ones need a little bit more pretty and ditzy girl. So it's still about taking a brief and then finding the right humans and scheduling them and matching them up and getting them off to work for the clients. So had that business for 4.5 years up in the beautiful hot Darwin.
Wow.
So was up there, was going traveling. Like I said, I fell into the business, and 4.5 years later, I was still there, and I had 3 businesses. I'm like, what happened? But that was fun. And then when I moved to Sydney, I fell into recruitment. I went to a recruitment agency to ask them to get me another job in liquor because I'd also been working for Diageo, which does Bundy Rum and Smirnoff and all those sorts of things, and wanted to change. And then they were like, you'd make a good recruiter. And I'm like, what's a recruiter? And the directors of the business didn't really agree with the consultant either. He was like, okay, she sold Bundy to bottle shops, specifically Dan Murphy's, which really isn't hard. And she ran a promo agency. I don't see why she'd be right. So they said no to me 10 times. They put me through 10 interviews and said no 10 times.
Wow.
One of the basis of the reasoning was I was a female. And so that wasn't going to work for some reason, and that I'd never done cold calling and never done anything like recruitment. I've never done a cutthroat sales job. And they're like, no. So I rang them and said, you've got 5 minutes to have a contract for me as I walk past on Sussex Street. Otherwise, I'm going around the corner to Pegasus, your competitor, and I'm going to start up and you'll steal all your clients. So they gave me a contract, and 1 year, 11 months later, I was their general manager, and we built the team from 4 of us to just over 50 in the nearly 5 years I was there.
Wow. So good.
Yeah, so that was a really big learning curve and the big chip on the shoulder to go, oh yeah, I can't do it, can I? Like, I'll show you. I'm just going to rewrite everything you do. And then I went to work for their competitor for 3.5 years as the national operations manager and the New South Wales state manager and the second highest biller. So I got a lot of exposure to how to build businesses, but obviously how to help other people build their businesses using human capital. And as you can imagine, starting with a firm that had 4 of us and then taking it to 50, and I did all the training and unfortunately all the firing as well most of the time. They named me the Black Widow after a while because I used to get flown in to fire people, and I'm like, that's not very nice. It's like, and if you get a desk next to Jade, you've got like one next step, and that's out the fucking door. So perform or die. So yeah, so it was a big steep learning curve on building and using human capital internally and getting the best out of them, but then also taking briefs from clients. And it's a whole different kettle of fish. Like, you know, when you're hiring for yourself, what you need and how to do it, but extracting that out of other people or teaching other people how to figure that out and then sourcing it and trying to unprogram them most of the time is a real art, let's say. So that's probably the journey up until Life Engineered. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I did also have my own recruitment firm for 5 years as well. The last 5 years, which is where we met at the Entourage.
It's an amazing journey. So I guess there's so many things for us to talk about. So let's do a bit of a rundown of what inspired the change to create Life Engineered and what is Life Engineered and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I had my own firm for 5 years, Velocity Consulting, and was convinced I just wanted to build a global headhunting firm and, you know, build this massive empire, and was really bought into everything Gary Vee said, like, work till you die, and like hustle is the new black, and wear that fatigue like a badge of honor, and who needs sleep is for the fucking weak. Like, you don't need that shit. Like, just work and hustle and do and grind. And I was like so bought into that. And world domination, which was great. The guys from the Entourage obviously saw that passion and enthusiasm and offered to invest in me. And I was the first investee company of the Entourage Growth Fund, which was amazing and a big growth for me there. And I started thinking bigger. I was like, okay, well, I want to diversify. I actually don't really like recruitment. Like, it's really hard, and, you know, you are tarnished with a certain stigma, and it's really hard having a product that has a wife that can tell them that they can't be sold. You're like, what? No. So it started to take a toll. And then I started doing a lot more of personal development. I read the book Conversations with God, which was recommended by Jack Delota, and that had a really big impact on me. And that started my sort of thirst for sort of looking more. I had always done personal development in terms of better my brain and learn more sales and better business strategies and that. But I'd never really done anything like looking at my soul and going, okay, why are we wearing this skin suit? What's going on? Like, why are we just, you know, get the better house, get the better car, get the better husband, get the better house. Like, oh, now I need another car. And why the hell are we doing this in the city and not going outside? And so I started reading more stuff, like getting into Eckhart Tolle and, you know, just really starting to learn those side of things. And I realized I hated the business I'd been building. I hated the person I was being. Like, let's grind, more sales, like make your cold calls. And although I had a much softer approach in my business to other recruiters and tried to have that balance, I just found I couldn't change it enough. I couldn't change the model enough. I couldn't change how the system worked just to be successful, because when you try to introduce some of the other things, the rest of it fell down. And although I wanted to go into other areas of consulting that I could see were aligned to the recruitment, it was just becoming really hard to do that. And then I had a few things. One of my sisters had a really bad health scare, and she's got 2 little kids, and I brought 2 of my sisters up. So she was one of the ones I brought up. So I was flying away to help her every month up here. So I was flying up every month for a week to work, to help her and help the kids. And then my other little sister that I brought up, she was about to have a baby and not having she doesn't have a mom or a support network, and wanted to see them more. And I'm like, if I stay over here doing this, I can't be a part of that. And my values had sort of shifted. I started realizing that I was also feeding my alpha ego side of things and my masculinity. Like, I was playing football 6 days a week and working in that sort of male dominated environment as well. And that was really feeding that masculine push, and that was having some effect on my adrenals. And yeah, I just started having a bit of a hard look at myself and going, don't know if I like this person, and realizing that I'm a spiritual being here having a human experience. And do I want my human experience to be sitting in traffic in Sydney, going to an office with fluorescent lights every day and buying more shit? Like, no. So I began the process of going, right, Velocity's got to go, and I'm going to go on a journey. I set a gap year for myself of at 39, what you should do is have a gap year, because I've never had one before, and go learning and go traveling and spend time with my family and start looking at how I could engineer my life to be what I wanted it to be. And so I started that process. I sold literally all of my stuff in Sydney, except for my car. I couldn't get over that at that stage. I was like keeping the sports car. But got rid of all of my stuff, and I moved up here, and I was like, go surfing, and went traveling, and went to a lot of Mind Valley events. Do you guys know Mind Valley?
Yeah, I've looked into it a little bit, and some of it's very inspiring. Some of it's very woo, like some people look at it and they go, wow, what is this? Like, I can't even relate.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. You need to enlighten me.
Yeah, okay. So Mind Valley started as a company selling like meditation training online, but it's evolved over the last 10 years into like just all sorts of personal development. But they do have some pretty woo-woo stuff. So like tantra courses and self-help and breathing and things like that. But Vishen, who created it, is ex-techie. He's like, if we use the word chakra, we have to say the word fuck in the same sentence twice. So for every chakra, there's got to be 2 fucks. So it doesn't want to be too woo-woo, right? But I recently got trained as a master certified trainer for them. So he's like, I don't want you turning up with feathers in your hair and woo-woo and saying chakra alignment and all that, unless you're going to keep it real. So it does have some woo-woo-esque stuff, but actually the delivery is quite real. So they've got lots of different stuff, and they've got coaching courses. They've got small business stuff, and I really bought into that by going to Barcelona last year for Mind Valley U. So Mind Valley U is like 1 month in a city in the world, and everyone of like-minded people fly in, and you go and do lectures every day like you're going to university. And the idea is that, the formal education system is flawed. And so what else could we do? So in the mornings, we might do breath work and learning how to get in tune and amp up our energy, ready to be in flow. And then in the afternoon, you've got Vern Harnish from Rockefeller Habits teaching you how to scale up. So, and then the evening, you've got all of your alumni, and you're out at 11 o'clock on the beach in Barcelona drinking sangria. So amazing experience. So Neil Donald Walsh from Conversations with God also came and did a 3-day workshop there. Wow. So we got really deep on that. So that's probably more of the woo-woo stuff. Vern's more of the structure. But that's what really made me start thinking about stuff's got to be different. And so I did a bit more of, I come back, I did some more courses and learning, doing some consulting on the side. I went to South Africa, literally just on a holiday, and I got out of the surf one day with a broken toe. So I had a lot of time to think, because I couldn't surf super tubes or do anything anymore because I had a freaking broken foot. And I was trying to think of, okay, what's my new business really about? What's it about? And I'm like, I kept saying that I've been trying to engineer my life to be a balance and give this spirit the human experience it should have. And what have I been doing to do that? And what's those elements? Like, what does that look like? And then I was like, oh shit, the company needs to be called Life Engineered. And so the name was born. And then I went into, okay, what's the facets and the dimensions of being a 5-dimensional human and things like that.
So good.
It's funny that it's a little bit scary, and I think Sam and I can relate so much to your journey, because this is what we've kind of gone through in just a completely separate industry, right? So, like, we've come from a very traditional financial services background, and the industry just doesn't want to change. It's very much like the recruitment industry. It's hugely male dominated. It's very traditional and set in its ways. It's been really manufactured in such a way for decades that it just really fundamentally hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, and I think even a lot of stuff we do, clients come to us and we talk about, goals and things like that, and what are you actually trying to achieve? What's all this money for? And to them, it's totally new. It's just straight over the head. Why am I talking about my goals? Let's talk about how we're going to invest this money. And let's take a step back. Why are you trying to invest this money? So it's similar sort of path, I guess, to what you've taken, is trying to look a little bit deeper and a couple more steps ahead. And what are you actually trying to achieve with your life in general?
Yeah. And I found, like, with recruitment, I'd be talking to clients about, okay, so you're going to hire these people. Why should they come work for you? How are you going to make them happy? And they're like, I don't care if they're happy. I'm like, they're like, I pay them to do a job. I'm like, have you not read all of the studies that say that humans that are happy at work are more productive, more loyal, therefore you get better work and it costs you less money. I just want them to do the job. So I wanted to look at things like, how can I help other people build businesses that will make a happy human workplace? Then how can I also teach those founders, though, that work's not the only thing and that they need to make themselves happy. And like you said, look at their goals and making sure they're building businesses that are in alignment with those goals and they're not getting caught in the rules. So rules is one of the Mind Valley things, which it's basically bullshit rules of society. So because I found that's what happened with me with Velocity. I started the business. When I first started the business, I wanted to have work-life balance. I wanted to be able to go surfing, and I wanted my staff to be able to do this and be less stressed and not operate like from desperation and blah, blah, blah. And once you get into it, then I was like, no, need to make X amount of dollars. Oh, won that award. So I got bronze in Stevie. How am I going to get a gold? I'm going to have to change the business to do this, and I'm going to have to achieve that. And then I was like, holy shit, I just set all of my company values and goals and behaviors around winning a stupid little plastic thing. Like, why? Like, that's retarded. And completely away. And that meant that I was working 5 a.m. in the morning to sometimes 2 a.m. in the morning.
Big days.
For a plastic thing. And that's just ridiculous because, my friend got a gold in her sector. And, BRW, when they put us in, they said this. So next time, I'm like, when you actually stop and go, hold on, Spirit having a human experience, does my Spirit really care about BRW cover and stupid little gold thing?
It's all superficial, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is the unfortunate trap that we fall into in professional services, right? Because it seems to be professional services above a lot of other industries is the one that suffers the most from this. Like you look at the legal industry, the recruitment industry, financial services, are the big ones, right? And even marketing too. It's all about what
advertising
and what can I show off, and how can I have one thing better than the next guy.
There's a lot of ego in that.
So much ego.
So much.
All one-upmanship, but you actually start placing your self-worth based on that. And I found because when I'd been in the recruitment companies before, I'd always been the first person to be promoted. I always I held the biggest record for sales for every friggin' thing you can imagine. And then when I'm running my own business, I don't have someone to compete with. So then it's like, oh, now I need to go and get the external validation and going, what is wrong with me? Why do I need all this validation shit? Like something's not right. We need to reassess how I'm looking at things. And like, I'm the first to say, like, I'm super competitive and got my validation from being the best. And that's really tiring. But it also makes you make, I don't think, the best decisions.
I agree.
So,
has been that competitive person, Jade?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I know so. Yeah, definitely. Always striving to be the best version of me, but also probably seeking validation. Probably like if I do this, then that behavior. But also, I think just that drive. I love setting a goal and achieving it. And sometimes it's not a goal externally motivated. It's just something that I've set for myself, but I will just be crazy about going after that ever since I was a kid. Yeah.
I think it's that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like we inherently have it. I think a lot of us tend to have it from when they were really young. Like we show up from a really young age, and it's just that constant having that milestone so you don't lose momentum. And it's just, you achieve something, you don't even stop to reflect on what you've achieved. You're like, okay, cool, what's next?
Yeah.
I think that's probably even further that I guess being in a male-dominated industry, and I know that we have a lot of female listeners, particularly in professional services, it's so hard to get your foot on the ladder and to scale.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I guess, that maximizing human capital from I guess, a female perspective. If in this professional services industry being so male-dominated, what can you do to be congruent to your values, but still be seen and achieve those opportunities?
Yeah. Look, I think it's about really being true and authentic to yourself, but also still having to realize that not everyone else is as awake and aware and conscious as you. So for me, a big thing was I did wear a male suit for a lot of my career, and I enforced all of my girls wearing the same thing so they didn't get the judgment from outside. So in recruitment, a lot of the girls would still dress, they'd look more like the receptionist than the recruiter. So you know what guys in recruitment look like guys in financial services. Navy suits, red ties, white shirts, right? Cufflinks, polished shoes. And so if you've got that and then a girl turning up in a spaghetti strap little number, she just instantly doesn't get the same respect because you've got two different people coming in. So unfortunately, recognizing that and dressing appropriately to get that power thing, because unfortunately you are judged the minute you are seen in everything. And as much as we'd like to change that, it's just not the case. And until you can get to the level of going, I just don't give a fuck, and you either take me how I am, but you need to have the back of you sorted for that. So you need to be able to career-wise go, okay, well, I'm choosing to do this. And now I choose that. Like, I will dress how I want. I will turn up how I want. Because if you don't want to deal with me, you're not my avatar. But I'm secure enough in what my goals are that I don't need to worry about just the money. So if you don't give me your money, I don't care. You're not my people. When you're starting a career out, though, if you're looking at it, you go, okay, what's the benchmark for how you look, how you hold yourself, and step up to that level. But don't be inauthentic. So if you're a female and you're a girly girl, don't just wear a pantsuit. Like, it's going to seem incongruent and weird. Like, choose a nice girl's suit. Or yeah, just think about those types of things. And a lot of the time it's about it's not necessarily about the male, female. It's about matching the characters in the branches. If we're looking at just career, so you go, okay, who's the boss and how do they behave? And you might need to slowly teach them a little bit more emotion if you're a female or things like that. But you need to think about, it's general NLP, right? Try to match it. So try to think about how to match that and use those techniques until you've established your own personal brand. And then you can slowly work on them to add that femininity. From an employer's point of view, though, a lot of them are starting to wake up about, you need to have that diversity. And there's a reason why males and females have different, generally, personality differences and softer sides or certain character traits, that if you don't have both levels in your business, you're going to suffer in one area. And it's usually the ego, like the male ego or insecurity, often I found in the ownership, that thinks that the female can't do it as good, or, you know, oh, she's too soft, or she won't be able to handle it, and not actually giving the credit for that. And then you just need to, that's where I came in, and educating them on, okay, have you looked at this? Have you thought about that? Have you actually thought about your customer and who they want to deal with? And when it came, I did mainly sales recruitment. And when you looked at the customers, most of the time, especially in a sales thing, a female would do far, far better in it, because the customer could relate better to the female. And so it's about looking at the customer, the manager, where you want to be, and working it in that way, but not to being too balls out in the first place. I was balls out, I no shit. I just walked into that place. I'm like, I'm going to run the show. I'm going to do this. But I matched it. I showed them, and probably this is where I wanted to change a bit. I went too masculine. And that's probably one of the things I look at now and go, I probably should have sought some female mentors to keep that softer side of me, rather than just, I was always one of the boys. And that, I don't think that's a great thing, but you have to do what you have to do to start with, I'd say. Yeah.
So what's the day-to-day like now with Life Engineered? What are you doing? What are you doing for your clients? What goes on in your new life?
New life. So the new life is literally about engineering the lifestyle that I want. So I have to regularly check my goals and my reasons behind those goals, and going, okay, if I do this, then that. So I started thinking, I got again into these goal settings, like it was around revenue and things like that. And I had to wind myself back and went, if I go for that number, I am not going to be able to travel as much as I want to travel. And I started getting really excited about doing a specific type of program with clients, which meant that I would be really heavily involved with them and having to do that face to face. And I was like, if I do that, well, actually it was my sister saying, if you do that, you're not going to be able to travel as much. So I had to recheck myself and arrange my product and service offerings around that as well. And I think that was such a deep learning experience. And what I like to take to my clients as well is going, I've got a dear friend from the entourage. He became a friend from our trip to Thailand with the entourage. And then he became my lawyer. And then we went through this whole process, and we started working together, and I kept having to say to him, hold on, how does that help you achieve this, the lifestyle goal? If you do that, how's that going to help you achieve that? And it was like, you really need someone there, not always pushing you, because a lot of business coaches still focus on that revenue line. So in the day-to-day with my clients, it's a lot about reminding them what their goals are. So to do that though, we have to go back to the woo-woo stuff, the Mind Valley-esque things about bringing them back to who they really are as a person, and what experience do they want their spirit to have in this world, and what are your core values, and what character traits do you want to have, and what does success really look like to you? If we strip back the bullshit rules of society, or what Jack Delosa would call other people's rules, OPRs, once we pull that off, what makes you happy? And I can use my examples, because when I did that, I went, what makes me happy is going surfing and spending time with my sisters and helping with my nephews and traveling. And all of that stuff really doesn't cost that much money. So then I can start making my business goals more about the impact I want to have rather than the revenue I want to create. And I strongly believe that if you focus on that, all the dollars will rain down anyway.
I couldn't agree more, Jade. I think that a lot of business owners, particularly small business owners who are hugely ambitious and have come from corporate careers and have wanted to go and craft a business for themselves, get so caught up in the ego and treat money as the destination.
Yeah.
They don't realize that money is just a vehicle, and their business is just a vehicle for them to create the life that they desire. And far too often they fall into a trap that they create that business that takes them so far away from the life that they really want that it's going to take them twice as much effort to get themselves back on track.
Yes. Yeah. And this is where, like, a lot of people think, oh, I need to make money. I need to hire some salespeople. I need to hire more people to get more work done. And you're like, okay, but you're forgetting that's going to handcuff you. You're putting on those employee handcuffs because you've got to be there to manage them unless you've got other systems in place. So where in recruitment, I used to be encouraged to, like, tell people to hire people, right? Because that's how I got paid. Mind you, my business would never actually tell people to do that. But, that's always in the back of a recruiter's mind. And as much as I try and tell my staff to do that, they still get paid on placing people. So they're still going to kind of push that side. Whereas now, I a lot of the time, I encourage people to stop and not hire yet. Get some outsourced people. Let's get the books outsourced. Let's get all the fiddly shit outsourced. Let's get you a couple of VAs. Like, let's look at all the stuff that we can take out of you actually physically having to have staff. Because staff take your time, energy, and money. So if you really want to build a business that allows you more freedom, like you started your business because you wanted to spend time with your kids. How often does it happen if you've got 10 staff that happens? Unless you've really, really systemized, unless you've got Scott in there and he's like systemized the shit out of everything and you've actually got that running like a well-oiled machine, it takes a lot of time to get to that. And you can just oversee, but a lot of time the ego says, oh no, we need to manage those people and then we can do more things in there and we're still in there doing more work, and you just get caught up in that cycle. So I like to help people go, okay, where can we get the efficiencies in the business? What operational stuff can be done first? What systems can we do? What can we get a human, like what can we replace a human with to start with? So then when we're hiring the people, we're hiring them for the right reasons. And you can kind of, I use that term engineering, obviously, but reverse engineer and go, okay, what's going to be better spending the money on? Better salespeople that you can have higher touch with your clients and better customer service rather than having someone in another country not speaking your language doing the customer service, or someone doing the books. Like, get the person who's not client facing doing the books, get more people client facing, and reanalyzing how they're structuring it, and just changing that focus a little.
Well, look, I think particularly for small business, understanding when to hire is a double-edged sword, right? So many people get it wrong. And look, even in our journey, like, we started our business officially in January. We've got a team of 10 now. We've got 4 here, and the remaining of our team's in the Philippines.
Yep.
And we've had hurdles along the way, and there's been ups and downs. Look, we've got there, and we believe we've got a really good team. But for most people, we always hear these horror stories of how small businesses have this nightmare of a staff member who's destroyed everything, all their IP, run off with their wife to Barbados, whatever it may be. So from your perspective, you've probably seen a lot, right? So let's
when you're telling that life story, I'm like, I remember what
How about you tell us a story, Jane? What's the staff story or that you?
That face has to have a story, Jade. You're going to need to go back and look and see the face you pulled. That has a mean story behind it, let me tell you. I don't know what the story is, but I know it's bad.
Yeah. Well, it's more a client I had, right? So I had a client, and the manager that I dealt with became a really good friend. And so I really wanted to help him with his team, but the owner of the business was such a dick. Like, he was just such a dick, and everything he did, you were just like, oh. And so it's like, they had some hiring horror stories, because even though my manager would want to hire the good one, and I'd be like, don't hire that person. Like, I've heard this, and this. And then he'd come back to me and go, you won't believe this. And anyway, someone ran off with one of the partners, and they stole all the IP, and they set up a company in direct opposition, and it all went pear-shaped. But then I was like, it couldn't have happened to a nice person. But I've just, throughout the years, you just hear all sorts of things in like people that had gambling problems, and you're like, the signs were kind of there, and they're like, oh, they were stealing the petty cash, and then they were in the strip joint across the road, and they're like doing this, and then they took clients there, and you're like, oh, like, no. So I've heard it all, but I've had more horror boss stories that make me cringe. Like, where you're like, oh, I just can't believe that someone is like that, and the way they try to hire them, and the reasons why. And there's so many. I have to be careful what I say.
Well, I share that. I share the belief that staff members fail because the leader fails them.
Yeah.
And I think that you can learn something from every staff member who isn't ideal and doesn't work out, of a way to improve yourself. So let's talk about that first. How do you be a good boss?
Going back to what I said before about really understanding what's going to make you happy, making sure the business goals are aligned with your personal goals and what you really want to do, and not tied to ego and tied to the rules, and looking at what your values and your character traits, who you want to show up as. And then once you really know that, and then you can set your company values, because too many people set their company values based on what they think their customer wants to see on a website. You know, trust and loyalty, and you're like, ugh, please. And how does that show up in your business? And actually setting real values that you're going to hold yourself accountable to. So my company values are always my personal values, because that's how I can be congruent in business, because that's who I am, not because of a list of shit that looks great to a customer, like that's never going to get done. And then if you hire around that, and that's your benchmarking, and you're hiring people that are bought into those values and have the same core values, then you're going to be able to match them, and you're going to be able to lead them, because they're going to believe in you, and they're going to see congruency and authenticity. And if you've got character traits of how you want to show up, and that you're checking yourself against daily, and I'll hand on heart say towards the end of Velocity, before I shut it down, I'd been through a divorce. I was incongruent with my actions because I didn't realize I was chasing bullshit goals, and that was leading my behaviors. And when I sat down and journaled the end of the day, I was like, I didn't show up as the character I wanted to show up as today. I didn't show those traits, and I did this out of desperation, or I pushed that person a little harder than I would normally because I wanted that sale, because I'd set a goal for a certain revenue and like I wanted to achieve it. And if I look at my actual values, I probably would have given them a bit more space, or I would have done this, or I wouldn't have ridden that staff member when they didn't feel so well to be at work just because I needed them to do the calls. So really being able then to self-reflect and go, am I actually showing up as that person? Because if you are, then you are leading them, and then they will follow. And it's a much easier process than dictator, do as I say, not what I do. Because people see through that shit. And with millennials these days, and that people want to be brought into a purpose. It's not about the money. And there's so much war for talent. They can jump in an instant. You need to be offering something more than a paycheck. And so if there's incongruency with who you are as a human and how you're operating a business, they're going to bounce.
I totally agree with that. The world's changed, it's not the 1940s anymore when you go work in a factory and the boss screams at you and you do your work and then you go home at the end of the day. I think, number one, I don't think team members would cop that shit anymore. And number two, I don't think as a boss or as a leader, you'd be respected to carry on, in that sort of manner anymore. And I guess you have to change, don't you? You have to adapt and start doing business the way business is done in 2018.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just that people are still trying to use old hiring principles. Like, I'm the boss and I dictate and I have this list of friggin' demands and like, this is the check boxes I want and the human needs to match that. And they're not enough people are hiring around vision, mission and values and those core character traits to make sure there's an alignment there. And then even if they are trying to do that, they still end up falling back into skill set need, and they get shiny thing syndrome, and they go, oh, but this person's got all of these skills or all of these contacts and they can make X amount of money. And they go, this one's like really good, could do the job and they're value aligned and everything, but this guy can bring all the clients. And they overlook the fact that he's a complete dick. And, he worships Jordan Belfort.
No.
And you're like, okay. And then they whinge about how this guy stole all their clients. And you're like, you hired a guy to steal out somebody else's clients. Like, what did you expect?
100%.
You want to steal your competitors, but you don't want him to steal yours when he leaves? Like, wake up.
Look, I've always been a big believer, and through my experience, I've come to learn that you hire on values and you train everything else.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that you shouldn't be bringing on a team member if you can't nurture them and give them the time that's required to help fill the gaps in their skill set, but nurture their values to ensure that they continue to remain what they are, because people can get jaded really quickly. They can come on with the right values, but if you burn them, they can very quickly turn into the Jordan Belfort-esque individual.
Yeah. Well, because then they start seeing you just as a paycheck, and especially if they're commission driven or bonus driven, they're just going to look at how they can milk the situation. Because if you're not filling your end of the bargain, they're just going to milk the one thing they get in the bargain. So you kind of create your monster. So I think and at the moment it's really hard to attract good talent, especially for small businesses, and they do get desperate and they hire people just because they need to fill a seat. And they're not being ruthless enough on that match. But it's because they can't attract it because they're not doing the right things to be attractive in the first place. So they need to do some work on themselves and the business and positioning to be able to attract the passive talent. So they've got more pool to pick from rather than having to go into that desperation space as well. And too many businesses think that they can work on that when they're at the stage of desperately need to hire, like, holy shit, we've got all this work and we need this done now. And they think they can work on the attraction piece then, or they can just post a list of job demands online and, the rain will come and all the amazing candidates will fall in their lap. And you're like, they've got to build the brand first, and they've got to build the back end to make it attractive for someone to want to come and work for them, because the great people are in high demand, and great people are great people no matter what the skill set. Like if you're looking at humans, and they have options, and they usually have good jobs that bosses don't want to leave them because they're good fucking humans.
Yeah. So I guess with that being said then, so let's look at like phenomenal businesses like Apple or something like that. Do businesses like that have an edge? Do they have people just flocking to them to join up and join into the mission?
Yes, they do. Because of brand power and perception, and because people want it on their resume as a stepping stone.
Right.
So, yeah. But I can tell you, I used to... one of my ego things, like back in the day, I really wanted to recruit for Google. Like if I could just get Google as a client, everyone will work with me. And this is going to show my age. When I first started in recruitment, I shared a Regis shared office with Google. And I used to lay on the floor every night with the yellow pages to make my list of companies, and the Google geeks would be across the hall eating their popcorn and having their meals delivered. But like they were still in a serviced office. And I was like, as I went through, I'm like, if I can just get Google, like I'm just going to kill this shit. So I desperately worked hard. I won Google as a client, and then went, oh my God, they're the biggest profit killing client in the world. Like takes 3 months to get through process, like all this stuff. And candidates started going through the process and going, these guys are too egotistical. I don't want them. And then the Facebook started popping up, and the Apples and that. And they're like, yeah, but I'll use the Google application to leverage in. So they'll be like, and I used to use it all the time. Like if I was dealing with another software company, I'd be like, oh, well, they're in the process with Google. And they'd be like, oh, if they're in the Google, they must be good. And I don't even have to tell them anything else about the resume because they're interviewing with Google. So they must be good. So there is still a bit of that. And if you're a software company and you're a startup and you're looking for exactly the same person that Apple or someone else is looking for, say you're an app developer, and it's like, oh yeah, you go here or here. Again, you've got to go back to the values of the candidate and go, what do they really want? How can you sell the dream of contribution? You can't really contribute that much to Apple's impact on the world now. Like they've had their big impact, and you need to be pretty deep to be doing, or pretty ridiculously spectacular to revolutionize and be a person that's well known in Apple and stand out. Versus up and coming software thing that if you can sell them your mission and vision and you're going to have an impact, and they can see what they can do and how much growth you can actually give them. Because like someone going into a big brand now, they'll probably come in and do their job, and they might be challenged and pushed a little bit to do stuff, but there's only still going to be X amount because it is quite corporatized. Going into a startup where you have more flexibility and freedom, and you can bring your ideas and do all of that, then that's going to appeal to a different type of person as well. But if you are someone that's like, oh yeah, I've got this amazing thing and I'm going to do it, and they come in and you're sitting in a shoebox and there's shit everywhere, and like you can't even really convey what impact you're going to have on society or what purpose you're going to have and how you're going to help that person to be happy, then you've got no chance of winning. They're going to take the safe bet. So how do you convey your message to get that person to believe in you and want to come on board and help you specifically? So yeah, the big brands do have the draw.
Interesting dynamics, hey? That's like a lot of business owners, that can take a lot away from that.
100%. And look, I think that a lot of the big issues that I've had, even with trying to post roles for recruiting, I've always found the best staff, and all the staff I've got here have come by way of referral. One of our lending specialists here, Sam's known since preschool. And my associate advisor, Sal, basically door knocked to get an internship last year. And then when he graduated uni, I contacted him and got him to come for a job.
Yeah.
So whenever I've posted job ads, it's always been a nightmare. It's about how do you position yourself to be able to get seen in the kind of the abyss of all of these jobs that are on Seek or all these other job postings.
Yep.
What are some?
Can I ask, when you posted your ad, did you post more of, like, was it structured like company, position, candidate, list of what they need?
We've typically gone about our vision of what we are who we are as a business, and then we talk about what is the role that they're going to fulfill of helping us achieve that vision.
Yep.
So that's been the way that we've typically always gone about it.
And I know from you guys, you will have a more evolved, because you've been through the entourage and just who you are as people. So you will be doing it probably 100 times better than anyone else. But what most people need to stop and think is, it's an advertisement. So when it's an advertisement, think about any advertising. What do you want the customer? What do they want to know? They want to know what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And with the abundance of ads online, candidates read the top 20% of the copy maximum before they decide if they're going to read anything else. So you need to tell them what's in it for them. And before you do that, you need to get into the mindset and do everything like you do. Say you're creating a Facebook ad to market your business for customers. And you go, what's my avatar? And you write down everything to do with your avatar. How old are they? What race, what age group, well, it can be, but you might have a big spectrum of that. But you've got to think about how you're going to program to get in front of them, to use the keywords that's going to make them excited to come on board, right? How much money do they spend? What do they spend their money on? Do they have kids? Like, fully profile as if you were going to post that ad on Facebook. And then I would suggest that later down the track, that's a campaign to do. But profile it out. What sports persons do they like? So if they were on Facebook, what sports people do they like? What TV shows do they watch? Like, if I was saying to someone who was looking for a sales rep, commercial furniture female sales rep, because a lot of the clients would be like, we've got too many men and we need some females in here. How can we attract them? We're not going to discriminate against the men, but we would really like to get more in the pool. So how do I talk to them? So I'd be going, okay, cool. So that type of woman, what does she watch? She might watch the Kardashians. She might watch, I don't know. I don't watch TV. So this one's hard for me. The home renovation shows, like The Block, and think about the things that she would like on Facebook, and you can retarget that way. But then you start getting into the psyche of, okay, what language would she use? When you start thinking about what's in it for them, what might be a benefit? Okay, you think that the most of the pool is going to be in a certain age group. Okay, they might have kids. So if we put in the top part of the ad that you have flexible working hours, and you word it so that you can go to your kid's soccer game. And you might be running 2 different ads, because you might go, I don't want to discriminate from the guys, so I might write another one that's around the blokes. And you've got one running for the girls, so you put 2 ads up, and in one lane it's like, so you can do guys, so you can take your kid to his rugby game, or you're looking for someone that wants to travel. We offer 5 weeks a year, so you can get to that awesome destination. So you're using advertising terminology rather than just saying we give 5 weeks holiday and expecting them to figure out what they're going to do with it. You're going, the type of person I want is going to do this, so I'm going to word it like that, and you sell. What's in it for them? And then when you're talking about the position, what's in it for them? So by doing this position, what type of clients do they get to deal with? What's the feeling that they get at the end of the day? What's the contribution they're going to make? And then you talk about you as a company, because obviously you've talked about some of your company stuff and what's cool about you in the what's in it for them, right? But down there, then further down, you start talking a little bit more about the nitty gritty stuff about the business. And then you say, what they need to have to apply. But you really got to get into that mindset of, who is my ideal candidate for this job? What language would they use? So if you know that the majority of the candidates for that type of role are going to be millennials, speak like a millennial, speak to millennials. If you know it's going to be someone more mature with kids, or say a baby boomer, you need to change your languaging so that it assimilates to them. Just normal advertising rules, but nobody does it. Like, they just put up a job description or company, so about us, about the position, about the candidate. And you're like,
why isn't it working?
Every single one is the same. And you get a short description on Seek. The short descriptions, or any job board, really. That is, if you don't sell it there, then it doesn't matter how good your ad is. No one's fucking clicking it. No. So, and then they're like, position vacant. No shit, it's on Seek. Like, you just wasted 18 characters. Like, because you get, I think it's like Twitter or something. You get like 150 characters. Some of them have taken it up now. Maybe 250 characters. Don't tell them it's a position vacant. It's obvious. Don't state the obvious. Like, like bullet points, selling points of what's going to speak to the person you really want to click through. Want 5 weeks a year so you can travel? Put that in. want to be able to pick up your kids or go to your kids' soccer game? Things like that make them go, yes, I do. Reason to click. And then I'd always recommend having a video as well, because humanizing, because it's so much harder to say no to a face and a human, right? Pretty hard to say no. It's pretty easy to say no to words on a page, but it's way harder to say no to a person. And can you imagine getting on and going, hey, the reason why we wanted you to join us is because, we're going to help you achieve those goals. We're going to ask you, what's the three most important questions? So how do you want to contribute in life? What type of experiences do you want? And then we're going to help you to achieve those. How we're going to do that is this, this, and this. And we're going to provide you a really good salary and a bonus so that you can use that bonus to go on holiday. How many more clicks are you going to get in applications versus you must be a superstar salesperson with a proven experience and a book of clients, and you're like,
you must be a team player and be able to work autonomously. Oh, shoot me.
But the people that I'm not getting any good candidates. I've had like 3 applications, or you get, I'm snowed with all these people from India and no one's got the relevant experience. Don't they read the fucking ad? You're like, no, they went to sleep in the first sentence.
Exactly right. Let's apply and see what happens.
Yeah. So, and they're the ones you don't want anyway.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Well, that's fantastic. So, Jade, based on your journey, everything you've gone through, if you had to give one piece of advice to small business owners when they're going out in their journey, I guess, in light of your experience and this transition that you've had of really having a second go at engineering your own life, what advice would you give them?
Shed the rules. Get rid of those bullshit rules of society. Really, really take some time. Like, you might think you don't have the time to take out of your business, but don't just take the time and go and sit on the beach and think that's relaxing. Like, take the time to really ask yourself, what makes me happy? Like, when am I most in flow? When I am most happiest? What am I building this business for? Like, let's not go, okay, I'm going to build this business so in 10 years' time I can go on a 6-month holiday. How about you go, okay, every 6 months I'm going to go on a holiday. And then reverse engineer the business to be able to achieve those goals. So you've got happiness in the now. So you're not like got that anxiety of, oh, friggin' hell, it's 10 years before I'm going to do that. And you'll make your decisions based on that then. Then you go, okay, should I focus on making an extra $30,000 this month? Or should I spend $2,000 and the hours I would have spent chasing that client to put in a new CRM system that's going to save everyone time and money? And over the course of the year, it's actually going to make me that 30,000 tenfold, rather than just going, oh, I need, I set that goal and, Billy left and now Billy's budget's not going to get hit. So I need to hire someone to do that. Like, if you really got those clear guidelines around why you're building the business and what you want to do, you'll start re-engineering how you're building it and why you're building it and the decisions that you make. Like, don't go hire that person if it means you're going to be enslaved to training them when you could have just paid someone to come and implement a system. And go, okay, is my holiday worth 10 grand? Yes. Because if I'm happier and more aligned and recharged, I can come back and be more in flow and stop buying into, I went through it, the guilt of, oh, if I'm not hustling, then I won't be being successful and people will judge me. And, hustling is what being an entrepreneur is. Like, you got to be like on the edge, like 10 coffees deep and fucking strung out. Like, go, okay, actually, I'm going to be way better off if I'm the one that everyone's jealous of, because look at my sick tan in winter.
I don't even get a tan in summer. I'm jealous.
We can paint you. It's fine.
Spray tan.
No, that's beautiful advice, Jade. I think that's refreshing. I think that a lot of people are so caught up in this hustle that they don't really take the time to stop and think about what they really want in life. And it's so important. I think it's about, we've really escaped the matrix. Like, look at us. We don't take ourselves very seriously. You don't see many finance dudes wearing polos and beards to work every day. And it seems like you've escaped the matrix too. So hopefully you can help more people do the same.
I certainly hope so. And I think that the reason why I focus on that human capital is because that's usually the biggest cause of eating time, eating money, and causing stress. So if we can fix those problems, then I can help them look at, because I say you're a 5-dimensional human, so there's actually 6 aspects to that because you start at 0. You can't look at the other 5 items on the list unless we fix the one, because you're just too strung out, stressed out, don't have the cash. Fix that and really think about that from scratch when you're starting your business. Like, think about how you're going to plan that out, and then your life will just be so much easier.
Beautiful. So if anyone that's watching or listening to the podcast wants to get in touch with you to talk about more of what you do, how are they best to reach out? How can they follow your journey?
Yeah, the best way, all of my social handles is Jade Green AU for Australia. So Jade Green AU. That's my LinkedIn handle. That's my Facebook and Twitter, everything. So best way to get me on that. New website should be live in a few weeks. So we'll get started with that, which will be lifeengineered.academy. But yeah, best way to reach me is through probably LinkedIn, because you can have a bit of a look about my background. There's lots of videos on there about what we've just talked about, as you've seen. How to write ads, how to hire, bit of management advice, not doing Monday morning meetings, bits and pieces like that are on there. And some little slaps in the face with my 5 a.m. club with quotes in them that make you think sometimes as well. So that's a great way to get a feel for me and then give you something to reach out with.
Beautiful. Well, we'll include all of your links in the description anyway. Jade, you've got some phenomenal content, so keep doing what you're doing. We'll be watching intently because it's valuable to us as well.
That's good.
At the time, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you in the near future to see what you've got up to.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll join me in Bali in September so that we can keep building your team.
We'll try our best.
And we'll work on Sam's hands.
And thanks for another episode of Enjoy the Journey podcast with Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor,
Sam Panetta, and we were joined with Jade Green today.
Thanks, Jade. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.